Let me ask you something. Have you ever woken up at the crack of dawn to the sound of 80 panicked cattle, only to find your entire life's work sealed off by a concrete wall, courtesy of your HOA president? No. Well, buckle up because I'm about to take you through a story that still makes me shake my head and laugh just so I don't scream. This isn't a tale about bad neighbors. No, this is about a power-hungry HOA, Queen, her developer husband, and how one stubborn Texas rancher, that'd be me, Tank Rodriguez, turned the tables so hard that the folks trying to ruin my family ended up begging for mercy. So picture this, it's Tuesday, 6 a.m. I'm jolted awake, not by my alarm, but by my herd making these guttural, panicked sounds like they knew something terrible had happened. I jump out of bed, throw on my boots, and sprint outside. And there it is, my ranch's only access road, the same dirt track my dad and I have driven for decades now, cut off by a slab of concrete, thick as a highway divider. The air's thick with confusion, the sun just starting to burn the mist off the fields. And there stands Priscilla Thornfield, in her designer suit, phone up, filming me, like I'm the punchline of her morning talk show. Emergency aesthetic compliance, she announces, flashing some official-looking papers, her voice dripping with that smug manufactured authority only HOA presidents and TV villains seem to perfect. Unpaved roads compromise our property values. My cattle, who haven't eaten in 12 hours, are trapped behind a concrete wall. 40 years of my family's sweat and dreams suddenly penned in like a cheap reality show stunt. You ever see your father's dream get choked out overnight by someone who's never worked a day of real labor? Because that's what I saw my dad's legacy reduced to a prop in Priscilla's HOA circus. And here's the kicker, she thought I'd just roll over. But let me tell you, you don't spend 2 tours as an army mechanic fixing Humvees in 120-degree heat just to let some suburban tyrant outmaneuver you on your own land. Before I get into the war that followed, let me rewind. My name's Tank Rodriguez. And for 15 years, I've run this ranch my dad Miguel built from nothing but dirt, willpower, and a pair of secondhand boots. 80 acres of honest Texas ground, 80 head of cattle, and 1 dirt road connecting us to the outside world. That road, hell, it's been there since before these luxury developments were a gleam in some businessman's greedy eye. Dad came from Guadalajara in '82, worked his fingers to the bone, turning scrubland into something you could actually call a ranch. And when cancer took him 3 years back, I kept that morning routine alive, up at 5:30, black coffee poured in his dented thermos kettle, moving toward the troughs like clockwork, old Ford diesel rumbling like a promise. That ritual that kept me anchored even after the Army kept me sane when the world spun sideways. And let me tell you, out here, the road is everything. Dad always called it our lifeline. Without it, we're just a bunch of expensive pets on land worth more dead than alive. Then came Connor Thornfield. If you can picture a man who never sweats, who shakes hands without ever really looking you in the eye, that's him. Bought up every acre he could, slapped a sign on it, Thornfield Meadows Luxury Living Gated Paradise. Suddenly the valley was crawling with HOA committees, imported Italian trees, and people who think agriculture starts and ends with the organic aisle at Whole Foods. But Connor's wife Priscilla, that's where our nightmare really began. She had this way of smiling that made you feel like you'd already lost. HOA, president, city council seat, neighborhood destroyer. She didn't just dislike my cattle, she wanted my whole family history erased so her manicured lawns wouldn't be tainted by, God forbid, a working ranch. The first complaint showed up in my mailbox 6 months before the wall, something about olfactory disturbance in residential zones. Translation, cow poop smells. I laughed, tossed it with the pizza coupons. My first mistake. Because Priscilla, she's relentless. Every 2 weeks, a new letter, unpaved roads, noise pollution, community aesthetics violations. Each one more official looking, each one reading like a personal insult to the American work ethic. See, back in 2010, Connor tried to buy our land, offered Dad serious money. Dad told him where to stick that offer in words, not fit for church. I guess Connor didn't forget the humiliation, and neither did Priscilla. So when the wall showed up at 3 a.m., blocking everything Dad built, I knew this wasn't about aesthetics. It was payback, dressed up in legal jargon. And the fine started immediately, $200 a day for illegal access point infrastructure violations. Day 1, I figured it was another HOA flex. Day 7, with $1,400 in penalties piling up, I realized Priscilla was in it for the long haul, death by 1,000 legal paper cuts. And my cattle, they were the ones paying the price. With no way to get a feed truck in, I started hauling 50-pound sacks on foot from the nearest legal parking spot, a brutal quarter-mile trek through knee-deep mud twice a day. My shoulders burned, boots filled with gravel, the air thick with the smell of diesel sweat and wet earth. Cattle clustered at the fence staring at that concrete barrier like they were waiting for me to pull a miracle out of thin air. Let me give you some perspective. 80 beef cattle burned through about 4,000 pounds of hay a day. I was breaking my back hemorrhaging money while Priscilla posted Instagram photos of her country living dream. That's when I decided enough. If the Army taught me anything, it's that there's always a workaround if you've got the patience and grit. So late one night, I head down to the county records office chasing a hunch. Dolores Martinez, records clerk and high school friend, is still working, face tired from a lifetime of property disputes. Tank, those Thornfields think they own the world, she says, pulling out survey maps older than either of us. Turns out that road's been there for 60 years, predating Thornfield Meadows by decades. The real problem: proving it in court costs more than most honest folks ever see. But Dolores drops a bombshell. Connor's company built half the concrete in the courthouse and his friends run deep. 3 hours later, I've got phone photos of every legal document that matters, including an original county easement that never got abandoned. Next day, I called Channel 7 News, thinking maybe if I go public, they'll back off. The reporter couldn't care less. Unless someone's bleeding, we don't do HOA disputes. That's when Priscilla plays her trump card. Sheriff's deputy shows up, hands me a restraining order. She claims I threatened her personally. Security footage shows me cursing at her house in Spanish, no less. The restraining order means I can't go within 50 feet of the wall or my own front gate. They've made me a trespasser on my own ranch. But here's the rookie mistake: they specify HOA infrastructure and her residence. Nothing about county land or easements. And I've got proof that road is county property. So while Priscilla's patting herself on the back, I call in the cavalry, my neighbor Earl. Good old Earl, his place borders mine to the back. He offers me access through his pasture, a hellish 2-mile detour. But at least my cattle eat. Mud up to my axles, truck grinding, fuel bills triple, but that long, jarring ride gives me time to think. And I start to see the pattern. This isn't harassment, it's economic warfare. 3 days in, Priscilla sends a city inspector. Anonymous complaint about diesel emissions before 7 a.m., he says, looking proud. He hands me a $500 fine for operating a commercial vehicle in a residential zone. Suddenly, my grandfathered ranch is classified as a nuisance. That same afternoon, I spot fresh tire tracks in Earl's field. New fence posts, professional surveyor stakes, and word from Earl that the county's claiming 20 feet of his pasture belongs to the HOA based on a survey no one's seen since the 40s. The timing's just too perfect, right? As I start using his land for access, they move to seal me off completely. By now I know this is coordinated. So I head back to the county zoning office. Lights are still on after hours. I see Connor himself across the table from the planning director maps, spread out, the two of them scheming like generals before an invasion. When Connor leaves, he's got a folder full of official documents and a grin that says he's already counted his money. The next morning, Earl calls Tank. They served me with an emergency injunction. No vehicle access until the boundaries sorted out. Could take 6 months. My cattle won't last 6 weeks. But that's when my drill sergeant's words come back. If you know where the enemy is, you're not surrounded. You're in a target-rich environment. I quit playing defense. Instead of chasing property records, I dig into public contracts. The county paid Connor's company $2.3 million to improve my road, public funds, federal money. Instead of making it better, he blocks it, turns public access into private profit. That's federal fraud. Susan, the contracts clerk, helps me get the paperwork. Her face goes pale when she realizes this is serious. Tank, you didn't hear it from me, but Connor's brother-in-law sits on the county commission. This goes deep. I find email printouts, Connor asking the commissioner for a solution to the Rodriguez problem. Priscilla outlines a timeline: block access, rack up fines, force bankruptcy, buyout for pennies. Even the judge who signed my restraining order is connected. He's the DA's brother. Turns out 6 other families in 3 counties have lost their land to this scam over the past 5 years. Connor isn't just a bad neighbor, he's running a criminal enterprise. At this point, I realize going to the local cops is useless. They're all in Connor's pocket. But the feds? That's a different story. My Army buddy Mike Santos, now a state police investigator, tells me the state and FBI have been watching Connor for months. My evidence is the missing link. They need recordings, documents, proof of intent. So while Earl calls the other ranchers, I copy everything. USBS Cloud uploads backups mailed to family. The FBI sends Agent Sarah Lennox, hard as nails, grew up on a farm, knows the score. She lays it out. Tank, this is racketeering, wire fraud conspiracy. You ready to be the primary witness? I tell her, hell yes. Time to flip the script. Of course, Connor doesn't go down without a fight. My bank accounts are suddenly frozen, suspicious deposits reported. Classic move. Then someone sabotages my truck transmission fluid everywhere just as my funds dry up. The feds put me under protection. Meanwhile, Connor's people cut my fences, drive my cattle onto the highway, trying to bankrupt me with lawsuits and dead stock. But Agent Lennox is a step ahead. Her team's got night vision surveillance record, everything. They catch Connor's goons red-handed, even pick up phone calls of him threatening me directly. Sell your property or accidents happen in rural areas. That's enough for immediate arrest warrants. Monday morning, the FBI raids Thornfield Meadows, 12 SUVs, a scene straight out of a movie. Connor, Priscilla, the commissioner, the judge, all cuffed before breakfast. I walk into the emergency county meeting with every document, every email. The crowd hears it all. Millions in federal money, stolen, 6 families forced off their land, the road blocked to funnel profits. Agent Lennox tells the town, this isn't just local corruption, it's federal crime. And just like that, the concrete barrier comes down. My cattle graze in peace. Connor gets 15 years in federal prison. Priscilla 8. The commissioner and judge 10 each. The stolen land and money are returned to every victim. My ranch mortgage paid off thanks to whistleblower rewards. The scholarship in my dad's name funds rural kids' college dreams now. The HOA replaced by neighbors who believe in honest work, not lawsuits. But here's the part that keeps me up at night sometimes. How many Connors are out there stealing from working people under cover of law? How easy is it for someone with enough money and power to twist the system to erase a lifetime of sweat with a pen stroke or a concrete wall? So I'll ask you right here, right now, where do you draw the line between authority and abuse? When does defending what's right become a fight for survival? Ever had an HOA or some official try to take what you built with your own hands? I want to hear your stories. Drop them below because maybe your nightmare deserves a federal investigation too. And if you're watching this thinking, no way that could ever happen to me, well, let me tell you, justice doesn't show up until someone decides to fight for it. That's what my dad taught me, and that's what I'm telling you. Like, subscribe, share your own David versus Goliath story, and let's keep each other honest. Next week, wait till you hear about the time a Karen tried to redraw a Marine's property line. Didn't end well for her. Federal prison wasn't part of her HOA's amenities, but hey, karma's got a way of balancing the books.